What is it that's hanging you up about Christianity? Is it that we're not politically correct? Is it that you think the Bible is false, or that our stance politically is too conservative, or is it that you know one too many Christians that still sins and you see hypocrisy in us? Is it that you think we're just emotionally charged and we have a feeling that there's a God? Is it that we're kind of mystic and really no different than any other religion? You know, one of the things I notice on YouTube and other places is an atheist cry, almost a battle cry, but a demand almost for more proof. Well, that's not going to sit well with me. I need proof. Or that's a good point, but it's no proof. Or where's your scientific proof? I think the biggest problem between us interacting with each other is that we don't speak the same language. Yeah, we may speak English, but a scientific mind maybe comes from a different place than a Christian mind. Even if Christians once were in your camp, we've been changed, and maybe we forget that sometimes. So, in thinking about this, I went back to one of the things that was key for me when I made this transition, and it was actually surprising to remember one very key point that really sold the life and example of Christ to me was a fairly scientific, logical foundation and baseline. So, just to make sure I wasn't talking from a diluted experience, because it's from a book called The Case from Christ, I went on the internet and I Googled kind of what I was looking for, and this isn't even from that book, but I found a site that I'm going to link you to. Go to the description and link to it. It's a fairly long article. I just pulled one small excerpt out of it. And before you accept my atheist challenge, go read the whole thing, because anything you could probably come back at me with as a, well, did you consider this, or I don't believe that because ... Go to this thing. This person looked at the evidence with as just as scrutinizing of an eye as you have. And if you don't believe me, go look at least to see if that's true. At the bottom of each page, there's a little link that says read further or go on or study more. Every time you click that, it'll take you to the next page. But let me dive into this. There are 300 Old Testament prophecies written about the coming Messiah. So just from a statistical and scientific point of view, what are the odds of one person fulfilling 300 prophecies? And I already hear all the objections coming. Oh, well, those weren't written at the same time, or you can't prove they were. Just read the whole article. Forget about that. Just clear your mind, make it a blank slate for just a second. Let's change it up so that the Bible part doesn't hang you up on this. If today I fell on the floor and had a little seizure type thing and had a vision come to me, and I got up and I wrote down 300 predictions, not just a guy's going to come and it's going to be in the future and he'll be really nice, not vague things, but very specific things. If I wrote 300 predictions of a coming person, I don't even care if you think I'm a quack when I do this, but I do this, okay? And let's just say 1,000 years later, a guy comes and not only fulfills one or two, not only fulfills 8 or 9, not only fulfills half of them or 75% of them, but all 300. I'm going to dive into a little bit of reading, so forgive me for a second time in one of my videos of reading. This is where some of the article comes in. I'm only going to read part of it. Please go see the whole thing. Was the Jesus of the New Testament really the promised Messiah of the Old Testament? For me, I started to see the mathematical impossibility of just one man, quote-unquote Jesus, accidentally fulfilling or purposefully manipulating over 300 predictions written hundreds of years before his birth. Professor Peter Stoner discovered the same thing. Stoner was chairman of the departments of mathematics and astronomy at Pasadena City College until 1953, and chairman of the science division of Westmont College from 53 to 57. Stoner calculated the probability of one man fulfilling only a handful of over 300 messianic prophecies. In 1944, he published his research results in Science Speaks, Scientific Proof of the Accuracy of Prophecy and the Bible. Stoner concluded that the probability of one person fulfilling just 8 of the specific prophecies was chance in 10 to the 17th power, a 1 followed by 17 zeros. How about one person fulfilling just 48 of the 300 prophecies? Stoner calculated these odds at 1 chance in 10 to the 157th power, way beyond statistical impossibility. Okay, this can't be considered true statistical science, can it? I can't say statistics, sorry. Actually, the American Scientific Affiliation gave Stoner's work their stamp of approval. Here is an excerpt from their findings. The manuscript for Science Speaks has been carefully reviewed by a committee of the American Scientific Affiliation members and by the Executive Council of the same group, and has been found in general to be dependable and accurate in regard to the scientific material presented. The mathematical analysis included is based upon principles of probability which are thoroughly sound, and Professor Stoner has applied these principles in a proper and convincing way. Let me go back to something for a second. Where Stoner calculated the odds to be 1 in 10 to the 157th power, that was just calculating the probability if only 48 of the 300 prophecies had been fulfilled. Keep in mind that Jesus Christ fulfilled 300 out of 300. So, click on the link, see what you think. Maybe you'll at least see that it's refreshing that there's a Christian or a group of Christians out there that aren't just hocus pocus, mystical, emotional. We have done some research. We have applied some science to it. There is some mathematics you can do. Short of God sitting on your doorstep and having a conversation with you today, I want to ask you a question. What will it take? When you say you need more, when you say you have to have evidence, or this isn't good enough, or that isn't good enough, what is it that you need? I don't want to say all the time, but sometimes waiting for the evidence might mean you're waiting too long. Granted, I'm using a Bible story which you may think is fiction, but let me give you an example. People in the time of Noah thought the guy was a total lunatic, an idiot. He was building a huge boat on dry land, swearing up and down that rain was coming. Don't you know how many of them realized, oh crap, we should have been listening to Noah, but by then the door had been sealed to the boat, and it was too late? Just a thought. This is The Edge signing off for